I'm Spencer.
And I'm Steve.
And this is our Stranger Things Season 2 recap, Episode 9, The Gate. And we're doing it in 11 minutes, and time starts now.
It is the final curtain, the end of Season 2, and it has been a fantastic season. Loved every freaking minute out of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is good. I mean, this is obviously the culmination of everything that's going to happen, right, this whole season. Gosh, just watching this, Steve, I mean, it's crazy. Like, we've got everyone, like, all back together now, and, like, everyone's getting, like, their orders of what they're going to do. So we've got 11 going with Hopper back to the lab, which, of course, she's not going to want to do because, of all the things she did. But
all the memories, like the corner of my mind.
Yeah, she's got to close that gate, though, and you've got, Steve with the... basically the kids still at the house. Here's the thing, like, Billy has to go find his sister. Billy's still looking for Max. When he shows up at Mike and Nancy's house, and he sees, Mike and Nancy's mom, like, there was this moment where she's like, well, she was just
reading a romance novel in a candlelit bubble bath. So
Right, and her husband's like asleep in the chair. I'm like, please don't tell me they're going to have the two of them hook up. I'm like, that would just be wrong and weird.
Cologne in the junk apparently works magic.
But they wanted you to think that was going to happen, right? But of course, he basically gets the information. He comes to the house, and he starts beating the crap out of Steve. Like, he's wailing. I'm like, no, I like Steve. Don't kill Steve.
He was not good. I mean, not good.
He was, but of course, then Max has had enough, right? She's tired of this aggressive brother. And so she basically takes a syringe and puts him to sleep. And then steals his keys to his car.
Well, no, and then takes Steve's bat and, like, gets it within inches of his own cologne-peppered junk.
Right. Oh, man. And of course, they take Will out, like, they take Will out into the Byers, basically, family takes Will out to the cabin.
Yep.
And like, they, like, tie him down once again because he's not going to know where this is. And they turn on all the heaters because they realize, like, he likes it cold. So let's make him hot. Dude, like, they're trying to burn this kid out. Right?
That was an intense part of this episode, an intense part. So they have all the heat on. They're all standing there, and you can see him just writhing, and then you can see sort of some of the black veins coming up through his neck and stuff. Yeesh.
That was freaky. Like,
yeah, that was freaky.
Oh, man.
Now, at the same time, obviously, like I said, Hopper and Elle have gone back to the lab. They find Dr. Owens, who had been bitten. He was in a stairwell somewhere. And I love the line when he's like, if we get out of this thing, Doctor, it'd be really nice if you could help, Jane or Elle have a normal life. And then he's like, cinches down the belt on his leg. He's like, let's see what you can do.
Right. And of course, they've got to close the gate, right? And so all these dogs are like, they're trying to figure out, what's going on. And of course, now they're all heading back to the lab, right? The like ground zero.
That's right. Now, Steve had
there.
And Steve had the charge from Nancy specifically, keep the kids here and keep them safe. But of course, Steve is out of it because he just got the crap beat out of him. So they're in Billy's car. Max is driving. What, she's got to be 12 years old, 13 years old in this?
Yeah, 14 maybe.
Yeah.
13.
And they are driving to the center of Will's drawing of the vines, the center of it all, because their thought is if they can make a diversion to buy Elle and Hopper more time, they'll set that thing ablaze and see what happens.
So I like that the kids like take the initiative, and of course like the dogs start coming towards them, and they think they're gonna die, and then Dustin realizes he sees D'Artagnan, and like he drops the nougat, the Three Musketeers, and like like it gives them a chance to kind of like escape.
I actually really liked that. I know it's kind of cheesy and stuff, but I liked that, like, that his relationship with Dart kind of saved the day.
Right. I mean, that was kind of cute. But now here's the thing, like, in that scene, though, where, like, Elle, like, this is, like, the big thing, like, she's closing the rift, and, like, she got the blood coming down from both sides, and, like, she's using what her, sister Kali, like, helped her, to, like, thing, and, like, freaking Hopper's just, like, shooting all these dogs, or, like, jumping onto this, hanging, basically, cage in the middle of this, shaft. And you see the big smoke monster kind of like behind it. Like he's trying to like come into this world and come through the gate. That scene, like that was an amazingly shot scene. Like it was beautiful looking, like freaking intense. And like it was done really well.
It was. It almost reminded me of something from like Fantasia, this huge monster coming through, and then you see Elle, and that almost reminded me of like the Dark Phoenix or Phoenix from like X-Men when she's like, she starts to actually rise up off the ground, and it's pretty intense, really intense.
So of course she does end up like knitting back together this rift, right? Like she pulls it together and like then she collapses.
But
it
takes everything. It takes everything.
Yeah. Like Hopper basically has to like pick her up and like hold her and like kind of take her out there, and like the kids get back to the rope and they're able to get back out of the kind of the vine tunnels. Steve is just a freaking stud, like helping all the kids out, and like I don't know what it was, but like he's wearing that bandana and like he's got his hair, and like I'm like, dude, this guy even looks he even looks cool with like down in this vine tunnel thing. It was funny.
Well, right, and then they could only kill the close the gate and kill the monster once they got it out of Will, right? And so going back to the Hopper's house, Will breaks one of the bands, and I know that Joyce goes to kind of hold him, and suddenly he grabs her neck and he's like choking her, right?
Yeah,
that was freaky.
Intense.
That was intense. And then finally at the end, comes out of him, flies out the window and out the door, and it's gone.
So I like that it ends, and then like it jumps forward a little bit in time, like it goes forward a month, and you see the Dr. Owens talking with Hopper, and he slides a piece of paper across the table, and it's a birth certificate for Jane Hopper.
That was cool.
And so he basically is trying to like erase like the past of 11 and Jane and who she really was, and like turn her over to Hopper to give her like him like legal custody so she can try to have a normal life, right?
Right.
But here's the funny thing. This show ends with them like ending at a junior high dance. Like it couldn't be more like like, hey,
perfect,
all this crazy stuff happened, but now we're gonna go back to like what real life would be, and you're gonna have to deal with like stuff that like prepubescent teenagers are going through, and you've got Max and Lucas kind of going to the dance together, and you've got Mike and Elle there together, and I loved
Dustin with his hair, and Steve still giving him pointers.
Yeah, he's in the car, and he's like, remembers like, don't show him this, and he was like, you got to act like this and whatnot, and then he's like, and he's like, don't do that, don't do that. It's like, and like I'm seriously watching this, I'm like, dude, Steve is like a freaking like a dad at this moment, like he's like a proud father, like trying to give him points, and
Dustin's dad, who knows where he's at, so kind of is.
But this moment though, where Dustin's in there and he starts going up to the girls, and the girls start rejecting him or like not talking to him and like moving away.
That was hard.
And that was a hard moment. Like, I don't know why, but like that moment like resonated with me. Maybe personal experiences from when I was in junior high, but the touching moment when Nancy Byers like sees him over there, and she walks over to ask him to dance, and like you can tell he's crying, and he starts wiping his eyes,
right?
And she like dances with him, and he gets this big smile on his face, and she's like, listen, she's like, girls at this age, she's like, they're dumb, they don't know what's going on. And like you see the other girls like taking notice that the high school girls dancing, and she's like, of all my brother's friends, you're my favorite. Like that moment, like that was just a sweet touching moment. Like it was a heartfelt moment. I loved it. The kissing between
then we get the kiss.
11 and Mike. It was cute. It was sweet, but it was awkward, which is what it would be, right?
It was really awkward. It was like a half second kiss. It was like
and the same thing with kind of like Lucas and Max.
Yep.
Kind of had this like awkward kiss, and then everything's great, everything's fine. The camera pans back out, and then all of a sudden it turns.
It starts
and we
to
see
turn
from the upside down, and the shadow monster like looming over the gym, over the school. And that's where this thing ends. Like,
heck yes.
Gosh, Steve, I loved this season. Give me your rundown. What do you think? If you grade this thing on a scale of 1 to 10, where was season 2 for you?
Oh, it was absolutely a 10. 10 and a half, 11. Like, I loved it for the nostalgia factor, but they didn't push it. It wasn't like overly nostalgic. They didn't ride too much on the coattails of the 80s, but it was just enough. I love the characters. I grew to love them over the 2 seasons. I thought the actors that played the characters did a phenomenal job, and I love that they were no-name actors before this, right? They were just fresh faces. And I thought some of the veteran actors, Sean Austin, Winona Ryder, they all did fantastic as well. I love the story. I'm really excited to see where they take this next. I hope that that they don't lose their authenticity and their footing, what they've established right now, right? There's always the fear of trying to go bigger and better and bigger and better, and sometimes it gets a little bit too unbelievable, right?
I thought the season was an 11 for me as well. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's an 11. And I loved the sound editing in this season. A lot of really tense, creepy moments with the music, and they did so much with so little in these like quiet moments and whatnot. It was great. The 80s nostalgia, the acting, like you said, it was just, everything was spot on. I'm excited to see where it's going to go too. It's been great doing this with you, doing these little micro podcasts for recaps of this episode. You know what? Let's do this again for season 3.
Let's do it.